you cannot look at this and go, this is a fucking solid ass thing that Israel did. They done pulled this off again.
Characterize the
Anyway, here's what Hassan Nasrallah said today.
facts. We were targeted by the Israeli enemy. Thousands of pager devices were targeted and remotely detonated simultaneously by the Israeli Zionist enemy. By this attack, the Israeli enemy have crossed all restrictions, red lines, turning a blind eye to everything, ethical, human, legal, you name it. The attacks took place, and some of the devices detonated in hospitals simply because the pager is carried by the medical staff, pharmacies, marketplaces, commercial shops, and even residential homes, private vehicles, public roads, where thousands.
I do want to mention once again that, like, this is a totally separate country. This isn't Gaza. These are not Palestinians. These are civilians in a totally separate country that happens to neighbor Israel, okay? Now, that greatly expands, in the eyes of the Israeli government, that greatly expands, like, the permission base that they have when America doesn't say anything about it and basically fucking supports it and continues giving weapons to Israel after Israel does this in direct contravention with international humanitarian law. Basically, this opens up an entirely new realm of possibilities for Israel where they're like, oh, I guess I could do this to whoever the fuck I want to. Right? I guess I could do this to whoever I want. That's number one. Number two, just a somber reminder that Benjamin Netanyahu also called American college students protesting Israel's apartheid and genocide terrorists as well. Just saying. Just think about that. So they consider, they consider valid targets all around the world. All right? All around the fucking world.
Of civilians, including women and children, are present. If the Israeli enemy are willing to target Hezbollah fighters, yet they targeted and attacked the civilian population. And above all, the Israeli enemy, in their attack, used a commonly used device used by the medical staff, public transportation, and even by average citizens. And on Wednesday, the attack was repeated where radio...
Are you just forgetting that Hezbollah launched missiles on Israel throughout this year? That's really funny that you're saying that, because even on that front, once again, the amount of missiles that Hezbollah has launched into Israel is nothing in comparison to the amount of missiles that Israel has launched into Lebanon. So, like, even on that fucking front, there's just not, like, there's never like any sort of protection. There's never any sort of, like, moral high ground for Israel. Okay? Israel has launched 80 times more missiles into fucking Lebanon than Hezbollah has launched into Israel. That's number one. Number two, saying Israel targeted civilians is categorically false. They created a shelf company specifically targeted the draw in Hezbollah. No, they did target civilians because Hezbollah has civilians in it. Just because you don't fucking understand that reality does not change that reality, okay? Hezbollah is a political party in Lebanon with parliament seats. They also blew up fucking diplomats. They blew up fucking people who literally are members of the parliament. And their children. And not only that, but also Not only that, but also beyond that, they blew it up in civilian territory. These are not people who were actively in combat. Okay? These were not people actively in combat. You cannot explode people in civilian territory on foreign soil, people that are surrounded by other civilians. Okay? Even if someone is marked as an enemy combatant, okay? Even if someone is a military general or a military commander or a soldier, okay? It would be akin to killing members of the Israeli Knesset. Okay? It would be akin to killing members of the Israeli Knesset around their family members and killing their family members as well. That's why the role reversal in the situation, the hypothetical of the situation, is important to reckon with. Okay? I don't know what the Israeli Knesset is. I'm just running a 3-minute ad break at the top of the hour. I'm just here. There's a 3-minute ad break coming for you. Okay. Just worry about that and how you're going to avoid it by subscribing for $6 or for free with the Twitch Prime. Here's a 3-minute ad break now. This is how consent is manufactured. People don't know that Hezbollah has political operatives that are that simply only work on civil governance and civil affairs. People also think automatically brown terrorism deserved it. People also don't even fucking know basic facts about even Israeli politics in terms of like what the Knesset is. The Israeli Knesset is the Israeli parliament. I come here to learn about stuff like this because I have no one in my life that talks about it. I know. That's why I'm here to explain it to you. Chatter, I'm telling you right now. Okay? There's a difference between like coming in here to learn and then coming in here with a very specific type of energy that is defending the Israeli actions yesterday, especially as I'm like talking about international human rights being violated in this circumstance, doing a litany of war crimes and doing things that would be absolutely considered acts of terror if the roles were reversed. So I'm describing it to you. Israeli Knesset is the Israeli parliament. Many members of the Israeli Knesset, considering that like Israel has a national draft, right? Everyone has to serve. They have forcible conscription. Many people are former or active current IDF operatives, okay? The Israeli Defense Force is the military force of Israel. We call it the Israeli Occupying Force, but the official name is the Israeli Defense Force. If Hezbollah were to intercept communications, like civilian communications that Israel uses in their civilian processes, right? Pagers, phones, walkie-talkies, things that EMTs, for example, use, things that doctors use, things that nurses use, right? If Hezbollah was able to infiltrate the logistics, set up a shell company, and sell a bunch of bombs strapped to these phones, and then blew up these phones, okay? Blew up these phones, blew up these pagers, blew up these walkie-talkies when Israelis were just like living their regular old lives in the middle of Tel Aviv in crowded marketplaces, you would call it terrorism. Exactly. But unfortunately, you've been primed because of the articles that you've read in Western media to not see it as an act of terror when Israel's doing that to Lebanon. Okay? Do you get what I'm saying? I'm glad that you understand it. Thank you for your charitability. I totally agree with all your point, but if someone were to say, what if Ukraine used this to successfully kill Putin? Would that not be celebrated as well? How do I respond to people saying such things? I mean, Putin is infinitely closer to Benjamin Netanyahu in this process. So I think it's a ridiculous fucking argument to make regardless. Also, this is not what Israel did. Israel didn't kill Putin. Okay? Israel didn't kill even the Putin equivalent. Israel blew up a shit ton of bombs in random civilian areas, trying to maim or kill purposefully members of parliament and even healthcare professionals, indiscriminately blowing up bombs that maimed thousands of people in a country technically that they're not even in war with. Okay?
Devices were also detonated remotely, turning a blind eye to whoever is carrying such a device. As a result of this act of war, act of aggression, dozens were killed, including civilians. Thousands were injured, suffered various injuries. Numbers will be established with time. Some of the victims were documented, registered once or twice. Some were not at all. At the end of the day, the number of victims was very high. Speaking of the enemy's intentions, they started their attack targeting a number of pager devices, fully aware that...
Is this not an act of war? It absolutely is an act of war. The situation is, at this point, it seems, judging by past actions, that neither Hezbollah, which has obviously an interest in maintaining civil affairs in southern Lebanon specifically, okay, and also Iran, it does seem like, judging by what they've done thus far, demonstrating tremendous restraint, that they do not want the smoke, okay? I'm not going to sit here and outflank like people that are living there with a lot to lose and portray myself like as a fucking Redditor who is begging for more Ukrainians to die and begging for people to be thrown into the goddamn meat grinder. It's their assessment. It's their analysis. I'm simply looking at I'm looking at it from over here, and it seems like they are legitimately worried about U.S. involvement and therefore have portrayed themselves as infinitely more rational actors as Israel becomes more and more belligerent. Okay? Part of that is because they know that America has 4,000 fucking Marines in the region. They know that America will jump if Israel says jump. They know that America will send in military to not only defend Israel, but also to potentially invade Lebanon or even go into direct war with Iran. Isn't Hezbollah a terrorist organization? Terrorism as a designation is simply a political designation. It is utterly meaningless. America is a terrorist organization. The Republican Party is a terrorist organization. Israel is a terrorist organization. It doesn't mean anything. It's simply designed for you to think, oh, well, they deserve it. Okay? That's it. That's it. It's so you go, oh, well, Hezbollah exploded, so they're terrorists. They deserve it. That is precisely the reason why this designation exists. On the legal front, the reason why the designation exists is so that if you nab an enemy combatant, you can just like deny them human rights and torture them. That is the specific purpose, at least in the United States of America. It's a way to bypass, yes, habeas corpus. No human rights whatsoever. You can black bag them. You can do whatever the fuck you want. I feel like saying Hezbollah is a terrorist org is like saying the Viet Cong is a terrorist org. Well, they did say that. So, yes, it is exactly like that. Yes, and also it's like saying the ANC is a terrorist organization. Nelson Mandela was on the terror watch list until 2008. Anyway. Yeah,
Though
the IRA is a terrorist organization. Black Panthers were a terrorist organization. It is whoever is in the crosshairs of American empire. That's it.
those devices go beyond 4,000 in number. The Israeli enemy believed that these pager devices are used by Hezbollah fighters. When these pager devices were detonated, the Israeli enemy had willfully, purposefully, with formed design, willed to kill 4,000 people simultaneously at the same time. Regardless of the number of who could have been also killed within the vicinity of the targeted devices. This was the willful, purposeful intention of the enemy, criminal intention. The same is repeated on the second day, willfully aimed to kill thousands. To the Israeli.
This massacre can be added to the decades of massacres in our region by the cancerous entity. It is an act of war. It is a declaration of war. The enemy tried to kill 5,000 of our people. Much of it was foiled. We have launched several committees to investigate how the attack occurred. How we are to some degree realistic. This was a big blow to our security and humanity. This was an unprecedented hard blow. Nasrallah lays out what he sees as an objective of Israel's attacks, to separate the two fronts of the war and to bring Hezbollah to surrender. He says empathetically, Hezbollah will not cease its strikes against Israel until the slaughter in Gaza stops. The resistance in Lebanon will not stop supporting the resistance in Gaza and the West Bank. That was the ultimate purpose of Israel. The reason why they did this, as Benjamin Netanyahu also fucking openly admitted, just like that other guy who's definitely not fucking connected to the intelligence agencies, said immediately after, before there were additional details, that like they're trying to decouple. They are trying to decouple Hezbollah from Gaza, right? The Israeli enemy are fools. It is true that they have technological edge, but that technological edge leads to the highest levels of foolishness. They fail to realize we are filled with unshaken faith. Nasrallah directly addresses Netanyahu and Gallant. You will not be able to make your illegal Israeli settlers return to their colonies in the north. I reiterate, the only way is by stopping the aggression in Gaza and the West Bank, not escalation, not all-out war.